Have you ever considered the ancient melody that weaves through all great spiritual tapestries? The notion of the one who is awakened, the one who has been chosen, an individual who, it seems, has been gently nudged by the cosmos to follow a path less traveled. And if you look closely, you'll find a common thread in their story, a profound and deep-seated aloneness. Now, this is not the ache of loneliness, you see. That is an entirely different affair. It is, rather, a state of solitude, a quiet separation from the main current of the human river. So then, let us explore this feeling, for it reveals something fundamental about the very nature of waking up. But first, we must be wonderfully clear about one thing. When we speak of a chosen soul, we are not discussing a prize awarded by some celestial judge. That, you see, would be a game of the ego. No, we are speaking of one who has been invited by existence itself, by the great dance of life, or however you wish to say it, to awaken from the dream, to finally see the nature of the play. And this brings us to the central koan. Why must this journey be a solitary one? Why is the comfort of the crowd, the warmth of easy belonging, not for them? Why can they not simply merge back into the familiar rhythm of the collective? What is it in the very fabric of awakening that calls for this path of aloneness? Let us begin here. The awakened individual dances to a different rhythm of reality. Most of us perceive the world through a thick veil of ideas and names, a tapestry woven from inherited beliefs and our own deep-seated desires. We see not the world itself, but a reflection of it in the mirror of our own minds. We live, for the most part, in a shared dream, a consensus reality we agree to call normal. The one who awakens, however, has by some grace peered through a crack in this dream. Perhaps it was through great sorrow, or perhaps a sudden, unbidden joy, perhaps through long years of quiet sitting. The how of it is not the point. What matters is that they now feel life directly, with less of the mind's constant chatter. And this, you see, creates a silent space between them and those still lost in the dream. It is like trying to describe the color blue to one who has only ever known darkness. You can speak of crimson, of azure, of emerald, but the words are only echoes. Yet they will never grasp the essence of your words, for it is like describing the taste of wine to one who has only known water. In this very same way, the one who awakens spiritually sees with different eyes, perceives a reality, a landscape of understanding that cannot be drawn on any map for those who have not walked the path themselves. And so, there is a path they walk in solitude, not from a sense of being above or apart, but because the language of their experience finds no perfect echo in the world around them. You see, this sense of aloneness dawns long before the sun of full awakening has risen. It begins the moment one starts to gently pull at the threads of the great tapestry of culture, questioning its very weave, the patterns of their faith, the rules of the societal game. In that very instant, they step out of the rhythm of the collective dance, and this makes them wonderfully unpredictable. The old levers of control, the promises and threats, simply cease to function. The collective mind senses this shift, and it either recoils or tries to coax the dreamer back into the shared sleep. I recall a conversation with a young man brought up within the high walls of a very rigid spiritual tradition. And in time, he began to see the cracks in those walls, to harbor quiet doubts. He began to ask the questions that his world had forbidden, and he once confided in me. "Alan," he said, "I feel as though I am dissolving. Everyone I have ever known is drifting away from me like ships in the fog. My own family looks into my eyes and sees a stranger. My friends fall into a silent confusion in my presence." And I said to him, "Yes, that is precisely it. A part of you is dying. The self you thought you were is passing away, and this dissolution is essential for the being that is waiting to emerge. But let us not pretend this is easy. It is a journey into silence, a passage that one must, by its very nature, take alone. Here we find the first great truth of why the seeker of spirit often walks a solitary path. They are passing through a gateway into a new landscape of being, a place where others cannot yet follow. Consider the transformation of a caterpillar into a butterfly. It must enter its chrysalis utterly alone. No other creature can accompany it on this mysterious inward journey. And for a time, in that sacred darkness, it is neither what it was nor what it will be. It exists in a space between worlds, a profound and silent emptiness. But let us look further, for there is a reason that lies deeper still. The awakened soul has stumbled upon the secret that most of us spend our lives running from. The secret is this: that the separate self, this little ego we cherish, is a wonderful illusion, a social fiction. And this is not a theory, you see, not a belief. It is a direct seeing, a felt reality. They have seen through the grand story of being a lonely little consciousness, trapped inside a bag of skin, separate from the universe. And once this perception truly dawns, once you realize you are not the small wave, but the entire ocean of consciousness in which all things arise, the old way of relating to the world simply dissolves. You see, most human connection is a game played by two separate selves, a dance of bargaining, of striving, of joining and parting. But when you cease to cling to this separate self, when you have seen through the beautiful illusion of the game itself, the conventional relationship seems like a language you no longer speak. This is not a turn towards coldness. Quite the opposite. A deeper, more boundless love begins to flow through them, a compassion born of unity, a presence that is simply here. But the ground of their connection has shifted. They are no longer two mirrors reflecting each other's masks. They relate from a place of profound depth, from awareness itself, from what the ancient traditions call the self, with a capital S. And you find that most are unaccustomed to meeting another in that boundless space. They are so wonderfully entangled in the dream of their own personality, their unfolding story, their desires and their shadows, that they can only connect with fellow players in the same intricate game. So when they encounter one who is no longer playing by those rules, one who has awakened from the dream while still walking within it, a certain confusion arises, a sense of unease, and at times, even a ripple of resistance. The one who sees must often walk a solitary path, for they move to a rhythm from another dimension of being. It is as if the world lives upon a flat, horizontal surface, and they have discovered the reality of depth, a vertical mystery, a silent, profound dimension of which most are beautifully unaware. They can, of course, still move and dance upon the horizontal plane with everyone else. They can speak the common tongue, engage in the world's work, and play their part in the great social drama, but their true anchor rests in that silent, vertical space that others cannot perceive. And then, there is the great shift in what one holds to be of value. The one who is awake has peered through the veil of goals that society so earnestly chases. The endless pursuit of wealth, of status, of perfect security, of fleeting pleasure, and celebrated accomplishment. These currents that pull at the human heart are recognized as wonderfully empty, like waves that can never quench the deep thirst for the ocean itself. This doesn't mean a rejection of the world or a life of stark denial, but simply that the spell has been broken. They are no longer mesmerized by the phantom prize that society dangles just beyond everyone's reach. And when you cease to chase the fleeting phantoms that occupy the collective mind, when you step off the frantic racetrack of comparison and let go of the yardsticks others use to measure a life, you find, quite naturally, a kind of solitude. For the great social dance, the intricate machinery of human relating is wound around these common ambitions, these shared dreams. The moment you step from that well-trodden path, you seem to step out of the current of the social world itself. I have watched this pattern unfold in the river of my own experience, knowing many faces, many passing ships, drifting through many circles of conversation. Yet there has always been a quiet space of aloneness, a sense of being a wave aware of the ocean, present in the motion, but somehow apart from the surface foam. This is not a striving to be set apart, not an ego's game of being unique, but simply an inability to grant ultimate reality to the plays that others find so compelling. The shadow plays that hold the world's attention. Who is rising? Who is falling? The whispers that pass from one to another, the ever-shifting roles played by public figures on the world's stage. These currents feel, in the grand scheme, like a child's earnest game over treasured toys. Now, one might hear this as a note of arrogance, as if one is floating above the concerns of the world, but it is not that. It is simply a different vantage point, a change in the way one sees. It is much like a gentle adult watching children absorbed in their play. The adult feels no superiority to the children, holds no judgment for their game, but cannot enter the dream of it with the same fire, for they remember it is a dream. They see the play for what it is, a dance of fleeting moments, a beautiful, temporary pattern, and not the solid ground of reality the players believe it to be. The awakened soul has outgrown the collective game humanity plays, the grand illusion of separation, of the race to win, of gathering and naming, and so they walk their own path, not in resentment, nor in pride, but simply because they have laid down the game pieces. But here we must be very clear. This profound aloneness is not the cold stone of isolation. The one who is awake often feels a deeper resonance with the pulse of existence, with the breathing of the trees, with the silent turning of the stars, and with the heart of other beings, far more than when they were lost in the crowd. Herein lies the great paradox. In letting go of the fiction of the separate self, one discovers an unbreakable connection to the all. In walking a solitary path, you find you are never alone at all, for you are the whole. One is reminded of that beautiful Zen saying, "Before awakening, you chop the wood and you carry the water. And after awakening, you chop the wood and you carry the water." The outward dance of life continues its rhythm, but the inner witness to that dance is utterly and completely transformed. The awakened soul still flows within the river of the world, still reflects the faces of others. The necessary things are done, but from a center of profound stillness, a deep and silent aloneness, which is, in the same breath, a space of absolute and total unity. Now this is a great puzzle for the mind. We have been taught to see aloneness as a hollow loneliness. We mistake it for isolation, for being a fragment cut off from the whole. But this quietude is something else entirely. It is a resounding fullness, you see, not an empty void. It is the discovery that you are enough, precisely because the you thought you were was never the whole story. You are the great current of existence, expressing itself through this particular momentary ripple. The one who awakens walks in this solitude, having realized they were never separate to begin with. That feeling of needing another, of seeking a companion to feel complete, is born from the dream of being a separate self. And when you begin to wake from that dream, when you glimpse your true nature as one with the entire cosmic play, the desperate grasping for another simply dissolves, like mist in the morning sun. It is not that relationships vanish, but they are no longer driven by that anxious, hungry feeling, that deep fear of stillness, which secretly orchestrates so much of the human drama. And this, you see, changes the quality of the dance completely. When you are whole within yourself, when your center of gravity is within, and not in the shifting sands of another's approval, you can meet another being without agenda, without the subtle ache of need. You can let go of the unconscious puppetry that so often passes for connection. You are free to love without clinging, to engage without being entangled, to participate without losing your center. But we must admit, this way of being is rare. Most are fragments of themselves, searching endlessly for completion in the eyes of others or in the echo of their own achievements. They seek it in the gathering of things. And when they meet someone who is already whole, one who is not seeking, one who has stepped out of the game of lack and fulfillment, they are simply bewildered. Such a person offers no purchase for the ego's ongoing project. And so, the ego dismisses them as strange, or it simply looks away. Or it tries to pull them back into the familiar dream. The one who is awake allows this, with a quiet understanding. There is a realization that this path is one you walk in solitude, for you cannot will another to see the light you have perceived. You cannot carry another into a kingdom they are not yet prepared to enter, and so the path is walked. Alone, but never lonely. In solitude, yet not in isolation, for you are connected to the very fabric of all that is. And then, of course, there is the matter of the inner current, the subtle calling. The one who awakens has a unique note to sing in the grand symphony, a part to play that no other can. This inner work, you see, often blossoms in stillness. It asks you to step away from the well-trodden paths of the world. It requires a kind of quiet devotion that does not seek the comfort of the crowd. Think of the prophets in the vast wilderness. Think of the monks in their silent caves, the philosophers lost in the cosmos of their own minds. These were not souls who chose isolation because they turned their back on the world. They turned inward because they sensed there was something profound to be discovered, a deeper pattern to understand, a truth to bring back, like water from a hidden spring. And that discovery, you see, demanded a profound aloneness. It demanded a great silence. It required a retreat from the noise and the constant motion of the social game. The one who awakens is cultivating something, not necessarily a book or a teaching that can be held in the hand, but an inner transformation, a shift in the very ground of being, a way of seeing that requires the whole of one's attention, the entirety of one's energy. And this kind of deep listening is often out of tune with the demands of the social dance, with all its expectations, with its constant echo, calling you to return to the shared dream we call reality. So, they walk in stillness, following an inner compass others cannot see, moved by a music that others cannot hear. They are serving a purpose that, from the outside, may seem a complete mystery. And this is not done to be special or to be different, but because there is simply no other way to be. The pull of the current is too strong, the reflection in the water too clear to ignore. And yet, here is the wonderful paradox. This journey into the self is a gift for all. The one who walks this quiet path is not abandoning the world at all. They are serving it in the most fundamental way, by waking up, by allowing clarity to dawn. By piercing the veil of the collective dream, they create a new possibility for everyone. They show that another way of being is possible. They hold a silent space of awareness that others can sense, a space they may be drawn to, and perhaps in time, discover within themselves. But this inner work cannot unfold amidst the noise of the many. For how can one hold the stillness of the deep ocean when caught in the surface chatter of the everyday? So, the path must be walked in solitude, a quiet journey taken by oneself, guarding the inner silence as one would a fragile, luminous pearl. Because in that quiet space, in that profound aloneness, the truth begins to breathe. It is the still water where the reflection of consciousness becomes clear and deep. And here, let us pause and consider a very subtle point. There is a tendency, you see, to take a profound idea and use it as a mask for one's own unease. To dress up the fear of connection in the robes of spiritual wisdom, saying, "Oh, I walk this path alone because I am so very advanced, and others cannot see as I do." But this, you see, is merely the ego playing its favorite game, a clever dream to avoid looking in the mirror. The true solitude of the spirit is not a bitter medicine. It carries no resentment, no illusion of being above, nor does it complain about the dreamers still asleep. Genuine aloneness is a deep and abiding peace. It is an acceptance, a quiet joy. For one who is truly awake finds no reason for self-pity. There is no wish for another current. They have surrendered to the flow of their own river. They have embraced solitude not as a void, but as a companion. And so one must look inward with a truly honest gaze. Is your solitude a blossoming beyond the garden wall, or is it a fear of what lies outside? Are you diving into the silent depths, or simply avoiding the turbulence of the shared sea? Is this a path you are called to walk, or is it a retreat from the dance of life itself? These are not trivial inquiries, you see, and the answer is found only within you, felt in the very quality of your being. If this is your authentic journey, if you are truly called in the way we are exploring, a certain quality of presence will radiate from you, a stillness, a clarity. Others may not grasp it with their minds, but they will feel its reality, and this aloneness will not shrink you. It will be the rain that deepens your roots, making you more fully what you already are. The one who is called to this path walks alone, for there is no other way. The very nature of the trail is solitude, for the truth it reveals cannot be captured in the net of words, and the inner work demands a silence, a profound stillness that the ceaseless hum of the world cannot provide. For you see, he moves from a place, a silent depth of awareness that most have yet to perceive. He follows an echo that others mistake for silence, and in this vast aloneness, something extraordinary blossoms. He awakens to the dream that he was ever separate from the whole. He sees that his solitude is a grand illusion, and yet a necessary passage to truth. He learns that to walk alone is to be held by the entire cosmos. He is a solitary wave, yet never separate from the ocean, a single note, yet part of the eternal song. He is chosen not by a distant hand, but by his own courage to simply open his eyes and see. And here we find the great paradox, the delightful mystery, the beautiful game at the very center of it all. You must feel utterly alone to realize you are all. You must step away from the crowd to truly see it as a mirror of yourself. To know that you are every face within it, and that the other was only ever a fleeting dream. You must enter the deepest silence of the self to hear the heartbeat of the universe. And so he walks on, alone, but not lacking. A single, complete island, yet connected to the whole world beneath the waves. He follows the path that is no path, a way that unfolds with each step, serving the truth that can only shine through him. Becoming the unique window through which the universe itself gazes. Not because he is special, but because all of this is special. Not because he is elevated above others, but because the invitation to awaken is offered to everyone in every single moment. His way is not better than any other. It is simply the way the river of his own life must flow, the current that is his alone to navigate, the journey he must take, by himself for the all.